Well, first and foremost, welcome. I know it's been a whirlwind 24 hours, well, 12 hours probably for you, making the journey down this afternoon and now joining me here to talk about your post as the new manager of Eastbourne Borough. First and foremost, what's the overriding emotion right now?
Surprise, first and foremost. Like you said, it's happened very, very quickly. I made a decision probably a week or so ago that I was going to leave my previous job. And my wife got the holiday brochures out, so I was assuming I was going to be somewhere nice and warm and having a bit of a relax, but I didn't leave the previous place because I needed a break. I was something fundamental I think needed changing at the club, and it wasn't happening, so I felt I should be the change, and that was a solely my decision. And I was really pleased and surprised to be knocked on the door, not only by Eastbourne Borough, but one or two other things as well. I think I've had a really good 2 years in Aldershot Town and loved my time there. But I'm a football bloke. I've been in it 38 years since the day I left school. And I didn't want to sit on my couch. Or whilst I did want to go to the sunshine for a while, we didn't end up. But the next best thing, I'm on the Sunshine Coast. So when I had the chat with both Alan and Simon, I think what they've suggested to me here is already in progress, and I've seen that when I came down in the summer with Aldershot for the pre-season game. I want to be part of something that's going in the right direction, and they've certainly sold that to me.
Well, I led with welcome back because obviously this is your second tenure at the club. You were here before for 5 years. I was tempted to lead with welcome home, but I didn't want to put words in your mouth. But does it feel like a sort of homecoming for you?
Well, it has been my home. It was my home for 4 or 5 years. I've got ties here. I actually sold the property that I bought when I was living down here before, only I think 18 months ago. But I've got a lot of friends down here still, and I have an affinity with the place. It's a very different football club to the one I managed back then. But there's a lot of faces I'm sure I'll recognise both in the crowd and in and around the clubhouse itself. So yeah, it's a strange one. It's not something that I'd planned. You know, me and my wife have talked about having another property somewhere else when I finished playing, and Eastbourne was on the list of a possibility of many places. But yeah, it's a bit surreal at the moment because it's like I said, it literally has happened very, very quickly. There was no plan for me to do this, and I'm sure that Eastbourne weren't planning on picking me because I wasn't available until whenever it was it became available. So yeah, it has been very quick, but I think because I know the landscape, I know the football club. Whilst I know the ownership and the ownership lead is very different than it was before, hopefully I can be part of that. And I haven't come here for the short haul. I can see a long-term project here, and I think I know I can live in the area. I think I could work in this area for a long time. And if the project goes the way I've been led to believe they want it to go, then I certainly would like to be part of that.
And like you mentioned, you found yourself here soon after that conversation with the ownership. Is that been the driving force for your reason to come back?
1,000,000%. I mean, I've always kept an eye on Eastbourne Borough's results, like I do with Salisbury or I did with Southampton, teams that I've been associated with throughout my career, playing and managing. But you know, you can only from afar guess what's going on. You hear rumours, this is happening, oh, this is happening down there, or that's happening down there. And, you know, I'll be honest, there was a discussion of sorts many, many months ago, because I was down here with my other team in terms of Aldershot. We played a pre-season friendly, and I was talking to the owners down here. I had just come off the back of a really good end of season performance for my team at Wembley. So there was discussions, but I wasn't for moving at that stage, and things have changed at Aldershot in my opinion. And now I was unattached. Then it was a really good opportunity for me to get back in the game as quickly as I can. Other people had offered me slightly different roles at different levels, and a lot of people say, "Oh, well, it seems strange that I've come from Aldershot." I didn't come from Aldershot to Eastbourne as such. I came out of Aldershot, and then Eastbourne appeared. There's a difference there.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier on about a long-term project, which I'm sure the fans will be delighted to hear. Yeah. But I wanted to ask about a short-term objective, which I'm sure will have been discussed.
Sure.
Looking at the rest of this season, what's sort of the plan?
Well, first and foremost, we've got to start winning football matches. Don't get me wrong, though. I mean, statistically, and it's been a very short period of time I've had a chance to look at this, but there's not many goals going in that way, but there isn't many goals going in that way. So we've got to maintain one of the good trends, and we've got to improve one of the trends that hasn't happened so well. I think looking at the squad, there's about 3 or 4 lads that I know and I've seen up close and personal because they've been either on trial at a place I've worked at or I've watched them play, in matches. But I'll have to get to know a lot of people very quickly, certainly the playing staff and the backroom staff. But the short term, I'm looking at the table, and I don't very much look at tables until there's 10 games played. But there's not a huge gap between where we are and where the top of the table is. So the season's far from over. We're 10 games in. We got, 32 games left or whatever it is? The ultimate is to win as many games as we can. The thing you've got to be very careful of, the bloke who chases 2 rabbits catches none of them. You've got to go and win the next game. That's all that. When I address the players, the first thing is all we want you to do is win the next game, and that's my mantra. It's been my mantra as a manager since I started back at Salisbury in 2005, and it'll be my mantra till I don't be a manager anymore, because you can't do anything other than focus on winning the next football match.
Well, I will be cheeky and ask. You are the current FA Trophy holder, and you are the man who won Eastbourne Borough's last Sussex County Cup as well. I wanted to ask then, with both of those competitions coming up very soon, will the focus be to try and have success on all fronts?
Well, I want success. Listen, if I play my daughter at Tiddlywinks, I want to win that. So if we play five-a-side out there, I want to win that. Head tennis, I want to win that. I believe I'm a winner. I breed that mentality. I provide an environment for people to work in that will coax them if they're a little bit nervy, which there will be. A lot of lads not know me, but I will hopefully be able to put an arm around the ones that need that and kick the ones up the backside who need that. I think that's all part and part of being a manager. It's not just about the bloke who stands on the side of the pitch, whether you're in a tracksuit or in a suit, bellowing at officials and bellowing at your players. That's Saturday. The rest of the week is very much thought out from my point of view, very meticulous. The players will be given enough information about the opposition that I feel is necessary for them, because some people can get over the top with things like that and people become scared of what they see on the TV and things. But these days, there's not a lot to hide before you play the opposition. You can all go to watch each other's games. You can see it on Y-Scout and videos and stuff like that. So there's not a lot of hidden things for me to discover outside of this club, but there's a lot for me to find out about this club, because like I said, it's a very, very different animal to the one I left back in 2017, I think.
Well, a lot of the fans will remember your style of football from back then, but I wanted to ask you, just for the sake of the fans who will be new to seeing your way of playing, what style of football do you like to employ?
I love goals. I wasn't a massive goal scorer when I was a professional footballer, but as a kid I loved goals. And I think people want to see goals, and I want to score more than I concede. Now, some people who have watched my teams over the last couple of years will definitely say, you'll see goals. Now, the aim obviously is to do better that way than there is that way. But that seems to be the way it is here at the moment, in relative terms, because to have only conceded 13-10 without winning a game means you're not conceding a lot of games per game. Me, on the other hand, at the start of the season, when I left Aldershot Town, they were the top scorers in the division, but they were 5 or 6 places from the bottom of the table because we conceded as many as we scored. Now, that's probably the best way I can describe it. We will be open and honest going that way, but we've got to be dogged and determined the other way. I never ask a player really to do something he's not comfortable doing. I will possibly ask a player to slightly play in a position that might be a little bit different. The shape that I play varies, but intrinsically I want to play a very front-footed, attacking, possession-based football game. That's what I would describe myself as. But ultimately, my last game at Aldershot Town was probably the least possession I've had as a manager at Aldershot Town in 2 years, and we won again 3-2 at a club who will be very, very near the top of this division come the end of the season. So, look, people will live and die by stats and say, oh, well, we should be winning because we've got more possession. It's not about possession, it's about winning football matches, and how we win the game, it's solving the problem every Saturday and Tuesday on a regular basis to win more games than we lose, and that ultimately is what I believe management's about.
Well, then, looking ahead to the next immediate challenge, your first game for the club will be against Maidenhead. You've got 2 sessions to prepare for that. Are you confident that that's going to be enough time to instill your values and your style of play into the team, or will it take a bit of time before we start to see your way?
Well, I think the way I play will be different to where the team's been set up for the majority of the season. And I've only seen a little bit of that, obviously, in the time frame I've been here. But between now and then, I'll look at a lot of footage of us, to be honest with you. I know Maidenhead from last season. I know Alan Dansha very well. And I know that they have a style of play that has been fairly unchanged for as long as Alan's been there. And that's not being disrespectful to Alan. He gets players who know what he wants and he gets them to do it well. And they're doing very well. I know the goalkeeper really well because I've signed him at 2 different clubs. So in effect, to answer your question, I hope to see a reflection on what I've been able to get into the players in the 2 sessions that I'm going to have with them. There'll be core principles that are non-negotiable with me. And that'll stay within the dressing room. You know, what goes on in the dressing room will stay in the dressing room. But players will never be shackled by me. I love flair. I love people who express themselves. I love teams that enjoy the game. And whether you win, look, there's not in the rules that you can't lose a football match. But it's how you lose the football match which bothers me. And like I said, I'll carry it until the next game if I lose a game, whereas I want the players to get it off their back as quick as they can. We haven't won a game yet. That's an awful monkey on anybody's back. We need to win a football match. Once we've done that, you know, it takes a little while to make it a habit, but habits are created in 21 days. Lifestyles are created in 90, okay? We've got plenty of 21s and 90s to mend here, I think.
Well, just finally then, it's been great chatting with you, getting to know the new man in the dugout, Eastbourne Borough. I wanted to ask if there was one overriding message you want to give to the fans after your signing.
Look, I looked from afar after I left this football club, and in the last couple of years, I've seen a real growth in the fan count in terms of people coming through the gate. And last season, you came really, really close. So we know that the fans are there, the infrastructure behind the manager is here, otherwise I wouldn't be here. I'm imploring them to come out. I did this at Aldershot and they did, and they followed us, and we took 18,000 to Wembley on May the 11th. I'm not expecting 18,000 in here as quickly as that, but I'd like to see them swelled from recent numbers because I think there's something to get behind. And I can tell you, anybody who plays for Eastbourne Borough going forward will be playing for the name on the front of the shirt, not the name on the back.